My goodness, we finally made it. Wow, we're in here. We should be good to go. Shout out to the gang. Y'all know what to do. We are live on this Friday. Y'all know we've got a great show for you. So if you could please drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me, and welcome to another YouTube live stream. Excited for our show today. We are going to get into more news from Fulton County. Yes, we've actually got the official body cam footage from when the FBI raided the Fulton County Elections Office. That's going to be a fun one. Of course, more Fulton County officials are upset and disappointed and just criticizing everything that happened with this FBI raid here in Fulton County. We're going to get into that. We've also got some updates when it comes to, of course, the Nancy Guthrie abduction we've been talking about. We've got a person who is alleged to have written the fake ransom note. They're in custody now. It's a shame that someone would do this and take advantage of this type of situation, but hey, we live in the world that we live in. We'll talk about that. We'll get some updates from the police on what the investigation is showing. We'll actually see some new footage from the house that Nancy Guthrie lives in, so make sure y'all stay locked in for that. And of course, I gotta say what's up to the people, man. The amazing folks who make this place the amazing show that it is. Shout out to my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy E is in here doing what she does. That's be amazing. Y'all show Amy some love. She does so much to contribute to the show and give us the great show that we have here. So thank you, Amy, for all that you do. If you haven't yet, make sure y'all go subscribe and hit the notification bell on Amy's channel so you don't miss any time she drops a new video as well. Links in the description. We got 8 Fits in here. Jay Buckmaster, what up? Taco Tuesday on a Friday is in the building. We've got Mr. Brown is back at it. Virginia Wiley, good to see you. And we've got some new faces in there as well. I will be saying what's up and good morning to y'all as we go throughout the show. But I do have a favor to ask you, and it's the only favor I ask on the show, and that's that you like the video. Likes are free. It takes less than a second to do. It really helps us grow the show, lets the algorithm know you guys are enjoying the show, and it shares the video, the channel, and this specific live stream with more people. So if you could, please make sure that y'all like the video on your way in. And big thank you to nearly 500 of y'all that have already liked the video. I appreciate it so much. It helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, you can share the video as well. I don't ask for that, but so many of you do it, so I appreciate it. And thank you to those of you who take the time to share the video. You can share it to any social media platform you're on. You can also text it to someone as well. Just click that share button. It's got an arrow curved and pointing to the right. It'll allow you to do that. And then of course, I will be reading super chats as we go throughout the show. So thank you to everyone who goes the extra mile and helps keep the light on here at the show. I appreciate y'all for sending in super chats as well. Shout out to the super chat gang. We're going to go ahead and get right into it because, as I said to you all, we do have a lot of information to get into, especially since it's Friday. We've got a lot of topics to cover, so we want to go ahead and get started. So good to see everybody just joining us. Let's talk about what's going on here in Fulton County, and specifically with this FBI raid covering and looking into the 2020 election. Fulton County thought they were out of the woods. They thought this thing was over. And I say Fulton County in third person. I'm in Fulton County. I'm a part of Fulton County. So I mean us when I say Fulton County. They are looking into everything that went on during the 2020 election. Of course, the FBI went in and they were able to raid the elections office here in Fulton County. A lot of officials were upset about that and are still upset about that. Some of them are even in fear of being arrested by the FBI. It's been reported that that's coming soon. Talked about a couple of people involved in that. And now we actually have the official body cam footage we're going to be able to show from when everything went down. And then we'll give you guys some more background information on what's going on in this FBI investigation into the 2020 election and voting in Fulton County in general, which we've covered at length here, has been a complete and total mess. Check it out.
All right, so we were given very limited information.
So we have a search warrant for this, like literally for the entire location.
Okay.
But now we're amending another search warrant for another location called State. So we'll have that pretty soon.
So basically,
And this is Fulton County
they
Police.
just showed up. They said they had a warrant to pick up the 2020 ballots. What we believe is happening, there's a group that wants the 2020 stuff. We're like, if you got to pay this money for us to supervise, you go, if I.
That's what I'm getting from it.
Oh, there's Rob Pitts, Uncle Rob.
So, as I could probably explain to you, because of the location, this building's so large, and there's different people I'm talking to.
Maine, in DC.
Here.
And what they're having an issue with here and what they're talking about is initially the FBI's warrant. They're saying it wasn't the right warrant. They didn't have the right warrant for the right location. So they had to get that updated. And now it's being alleged that the warrant is sealed, according to officials here in Fulton County.
No, man, we have on,
Oh, I see.
staff
You've got on-staff
attorneys.
attorneys. I see. I
Yeah,
see.
they would review that.
Because I
And again, this was a warrant signed by a judge here in Georgia, a magistrate judge here in Georgia. Let's keep that in mind as well. That's the warehouse where they keep all the ballots, which is insane. And now we're going to get into more information about this, specifically from Greg Dolezal. I got to have Greg Dolezal on the show. So if y'all want to see Senator Dolezal come on the show, he's been on a couple of other platforms as well. Let me know. We'll make that happen. But he says this during his 4-hour questioning of Fani Willis, who has been eerily quiet, by the way, when it comes to this entire election office raid. Surprisingly so. He says her unhinged behavior was on full display. Now we subpoenaed Nathan Wade. We talked about that previously in another video, who was on the phone with Biden's White House for 8 hours when they hired Jack Smith to go after the president of the United States. Georgia voters deserve the truth, and it's coming. We've been asking about this. Fani Willis has deflected and said there was nothing there when it comes to her going to the White House. She was there from some type of banquet, and we're all reading into this the wrong way. Well, we're going to wait and see, and we'll see what Nathan Wade has to say.
Well, we learned that she's an unhinged lunatic, first and foremost. If you saw any of that testimony, it was 4 hours. I conducted the questioning, and she unhinged is the only adjective that I can use to describe here. But here's what we learned, Rick, specifically. We learned that on the day that Jack Smith was appointed by Biden to go after Trump, that Nathan Wade, who was the special prosecutor that Willis hired, that she had a personal relationship with, that he was on the phone that day, according to his billing records, for 8 hours with the White House. We know that he made a trip to D.C. He magically can't remember who he met with in his White House deposition. Willis has no idea who they met with allegedly in D.C. There's massive cases of amnesia now here in Atlanta, but what we do know
there
was some level of J6 coordination with Willis, and we know that there was some sort of White House coordination. And I can break the news on your show tonight, Rick, that we issued subpoenas today from the Georgia State Senate to subpoena Nathan Wade and Jeff DeSantis, who's the deputy district attorney working under Fani Willis. And they have been ordered to appear a week from Friday before the state Senate to testify under oath.
And again, this is the whole thing. I've been talking about this since before it came out, and shout out to Senator Dolezal for this. I've been talking about the connection between Fani Willis and the White House and this indictment against the president of the United States, and how that all ties in to the 2020 election. It's coming full circle now. And I didn't have enough evidence to back it up, but we knew Fani Willis went to the White House. We knew Nathan Wade had a phone call with the White House, over 8 hours of phone calls, as Greg Dolezal said here. And there was some connection between this indictment being brought and the White House itself. And I said this last year, over a year ago, when the president was elected. So you guys get ready. We're going to start to see who was telling the truth and who was lying. And that's a question here that you have to ask Greg Dolezal, because is Greg Dolezal lying by saying we've got information that there was collusion, there was something going on between the White House and Georgia and the state of Georgia, specifically in the Fulton County and specifically in the DA's office? He said the information is going to come out. Nathan Wade, he is being called to testify before Senate, and we're going to find out. You guys will see soon enough. So is he lying, or is it Fani Willis who's lying that says, I don't know what you guys are talking about. We were in contact with the White House because, I was there for a banquet and Nathan Wade was doing whatever he does. The truth will come to light. And I'm so glad that we have someone who's looking into this, because as a Fulton County voter, I want to know the truth. We're also going to hear from the Assistant Attorney General as well on this, because everybody's getting involved, even Tulsi Gabbard, which we're going to talk about here shortly. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, is involved. And now we're hearing from the Assistant Attorney General, who says this: Fulton County refused to cooperate with civil rights requests for 2020 election-related documents. Alas, the Justice Department is committed to ensuring American elections are safe and secure, which we feel like they are not.
When we spoke in November, you talked about your belief that there were irregularities in Georgia. Has the investigation uncovered evidence that substantiate your concerns that there were irregularities?
Since we initiated that, I believe many more statements have come out from Georgia officials who have confirmed that the ballots were mishandled, not counted properly, but no big deal is their answer to that. I don't think it's disputed that there was mishandling of ballots in Fulton County. The reason I was seeking those ballots is to do some kind of a comprehensive review. So I haven't done it because I don't have the ballots because they hid them from us and they refused to cooperate with our law enforcement investigation.
And again, it's hilarious that the officials in Fulton County are upset that the FBI just came and got them at the order, by the way, of a local magistrate judge because they wanted to hand them over the way they wanted to hand them over. It doesn't make any sense. And if they were given multiple opportunities, if this has been going on, if Brad Raffensperger is correct and there's nothing there, then let them go through this again. But we haven't done, as the Assistant Attorney General put it, a comprehensive review of these votes. They've done internal affairs investigation, which we know how those go. So check this out. We got the Secretary of State speaking out about this again. We heard about Brad Raffensperger and is argumentatively the one who helped give the most evidence into this election interference case that Fani Willis brought and is now being questioned because of it, because the President of the United States, after the votes were supposedly done and counted in Georgia, called Brad Raffensperger and said, hey, man, where did these nearly 12,000 votes come from? It doesn't look right. It happened overnight and it looked like we were going to win Georgia. What's going on? Then Fani Willis saw that, apparently worked with some other people in the White House to come up with this indictment. And then we have what we have because of that. Now, Brad Raffensperger has something to say about the FBI raiding this elections office. He's not happy either.
More than 1 week after an FBI raid on an election hub in Fulton County, we are hearing from Georgia's Secretary of State.
Just hours ago, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger spoke to our Marissa Sarback. Marissa, joining us live in Fulton County tonight. Marissa, going one-on-one with the Secretary. What did he say today?
He's not happy.
Faith, Jennifer, I asked him if he thought there was any merit to the federal government's claims of voter fraud in the 2020 election here in Georgia, and he doubled down on this. He does not believe that is the case. Now, he also told us he doesn't know exactly what the federal government is looking for when they conducted that raid after a judge signed off on the FBI coming in to seize hundreds of boxes of ballots and other election materials.
700.
Obviously, the warrant was sealed, so what was in there, we don't know why they're doing this, and neither does obviously Fulton County or the American public.
Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
And again, them saying it's so disingenuous for them to say we don't know why. Somebody knows why, Brad. So it's either the Secretary of State, it's either the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, it's either the DA or the special attorney that was appointed to be on this election interference case, or it's the mayor who also attended and went to the White House the same time Fani Willis did. Is it Greg Dolezal? Somebody knows why the FBI is doing this other than the director of the FBI. How can we have more information than the Secretary of State? Come on,
calling
man.
Georgia's voting system the safest in the country.
Because we now have a paper ballot, you can do a 100% hand recount, and the results in 2020 of the presidential race and also the U.S. Senate race was actually a 100% hand recount.
Fulton County Chairman Rob Pitts last week claiming the ballots were safe in Fulton County until the federal government took them into custody. Pitts also said he felt he might be arrested after the FBI investigation. We asked Raffensperger if he felt the same way.
That goes into crazy speculation of, what people are saying, and so I have no comment on that.
I also asked him about the Fulton County filing a motion in federal court to get those seized items back. He said point blank, it is a legal matter, and he has no further comment on this. Reporting live tonight, Marissa Sarback for 11 Alive News.
And again, there were attorneys hired to try and get these back because, again, Rob Pitts, the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, said he didn't like the way they were taken and they wanted to be able to hand them over properly or have copies of them. That's where we're at right now.
Great interview, Marissa. Thank you so much for bringing that to us. Earlier today, I spoke with Senator John Ossoff about his thoughts on this FBI raid. He tells me that President Trump is obsessed with a conspiracy theory. Ossoff will be on the ballot in November, and at least two of his opponents, Congressman Mike Collins and Buddy Carter, are in support of the FBI search.
He just can't let it go. He's obsessed. Still, 6 years later, with everything we face as a country, with health insurance premiums skyrocketing, tariffs driving costs through the roof, He is spending his time and using federal law enforcement to chase these conspiracy theories from the 2020 election. And it sounds like my opponents are unwilling to break with him and are choosing to pander to the president's obsessions rather than to tell the truth.
We did receive a statement from Congressman Buddy Carter, who is running for Ossoff's Senate seat. He'll have to go through a May primary first. But he sent us a statement saying in part, quote, "Unlike John Ossoff, I have no problem telling the truth, which is that Donald Trump won the state of Georgia in 2020. He goes on to write, after years of lawfare against the president, we are finally having a proper investigation that I hope will get to the bottom of the fraud that occurred in the election."
Hey, listen, there it is. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. I want to read this again. Unlike John Ossoff, we're going to hear from John Ossoff, the full statement from him a little bit later. I have no problem with telling the truth, which is that Donald Trump won the state of Georgia in 2020 after years of lawfare against the president. We are finally having a proper investigation that I hope will get to the bottom of the fraud that occurred in the election. And again, is it a proper investigation? I've told y'all and made this clear in multiple videos. I don't know. I don't really trust the FBI, if I'm being honest. Do I trust the Department of Justice? Maybe a little bit more, because now what you have is you have one side versus the other. You have Fulton County saying, hey, we recounted. Brad Raffensperger, I'm on top of it. I've got it. We've done our part. You got the chairman of the Board of Commissioners saying, guys, we've been through this 100 times. Then you've got the other side, the FBI, Department of Justice, the President of the United States saying, well, guys, that's nice, but we want to do our own investigation and see what's going on here. What are we going to find? I don't know, but it seems like there's something there since this is such a point of contention. Why in Fulton County? Why Georgia?
Look no further than recent reports of people registering to vote from addresses beneath bridges and empty lots for proof of that. He also says, quote, if Ossoff is truly concerned with election security, he would sponsor the Save America Act and ensure only American citizens register to vote. We do want to emphasize.
That's a great point, too. Let's actually hear. We're not going to hear from John Ossoff just yet. We'll hear from him in another video. But let's hear from the Attorney General on what happened with their involvement in this case, specifically who was involved in this investigation. I think y'all find this interesting.
And President Trump is calling on Republicans to pass new voting restrictions. In a social media post, the president's calling for voters to show ID and proof of citizenship and for an end to mail-in ballots. Meanwhile, the administration is facing new questions on why the director of national intelligence was at the FBI raid on a Georgia elections office.
It's a good
White House
question.
correspondent Karen Travers is here for more on that. Karen, Tulsi Gabbard told Congress she was in Georgia at the president's request. Now, the president says it was Attorney General Pam Bondi who wanted her there. How's Bondi responding to that? And what's the latest on the president's calls to federalize elections?
Yeah, he continues to make those calls to federalize elections. The White House says he's talking about legislation that you just had there on screen that would require voters to have ID. It would require newly registered voters to show proof of citizenship. The president also in that social media post was calling for an end to mail-in ballots, but some exceptions to that. But the president...
This is insane that you have to push to have an ID to vote. This is the crazy thing. What does he say? America's elections are rigged, stolen, and a laughingstock all over the world. We are either going to fix them or we won't have a country any longer. I am asking all Republicans to fight for the following. All voters must show a voter ID, which is wild. All voters must show proof of United States citizenship to register for voting. Again, crazy. No mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. Seems pretty straightforward and reasonable. Some people have an issue with that.
Does continue to say that he wants to see the federal government get involved in vote counting, which has nothing to do with that piece of legislation. So that's one part of this issue. The president repeatedly pushing that and also repeating his false claims about the 2020 election. Then you have that raid in Fulton County, Georgia last week at the elections office and the appearance there at that raid by the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. The president said this week that suggesting that it was foreign election interference, and that's why she is down there, but then suggested that it was the attorney general who directed her to be there, despite, as you noted, Gabbard saying she was there at the request of the president. We heard from Pam Bondi, the attorney general, this morning, and here's what she had to say about this.
It's interesting because DNI, Gabbard, and I are inseparable. We are constantly together, as are the people behind us. We constantly talk. We collaborate as a cabinet. We're all extremely close, know what each other, what we're doing at all times, pretty much, to keep not only our country safe, but our world safe. And she was down there with Deputy Director Andrew Bailey of the FBI. And I'm not going to talk about any other details of that matter right now because Georgia is a very important issue to us.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And again, we're going to see how this plays out, especially with changes wanting to be made when it comes to voters. But Fulton County has had issues for over a decade at least, that we've seen with the research we've done here about how the voting system works, the software that's been used. Greg Dolezal holding election officials' feet to the fire, saying, why hasn't the voting system been updated? Why are 1,000 people registered at one location to vote? That's not even a proper location, an actual voting location. Again, we have to agree that the system is a mess. It needs to be changed. What this investigation is going to find, I'll be interested to know. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments in the chat. And again, I see y'all, man, everybody is really interested in this one because there's a lot of differing views. Some of you say, what's wrong with the voter ID? I don't know. Y'all said Cash has crazy eyes. Cash Patel with the eyes kills me, man. I'm not a Cash Patel fan, but hey, shout out to Cash. He's over there doing something. Shout out to Cash Patel. Yeah, it's interesting. Brad and Nathan Deal, both Republicans, oversaw the recount. Why would they want the election to go the opposite way? I think the important thing about an investigation is you actually get to see where the breakdown is. We've even seen in the Karen Reed trial, if part of your collection process is flawed, then the end result's going to be flawed, right? So if you have votes that were tampered with or stuffed in some way, and then you recount those same votes, well, that really doesn't solve anything because you recount the votes that weren't legitimate votes and you say, yeah, the number's the same. Well, duh, there's more votes there. So that's the issue. And that's what I believe the FBI is looking into and the president wants to investigate is how do we even get to this point? Because you look less than 24 hours, you have 12,000 votes out of nowhere. Then you look into what Greg Dolezal is saying and the work that he's putting into his investigation. And it seems like there's voter locations where thousands of people are registered where you can't even register to vote at that location. So again, there's something there. And I think for us to pretend like there's nothing there, I think is somewhat disingenuous. Now, what are we going to actually find? What's going to be reliable from the FBI? That leaves a lot to be questioned because again, I'm not a fan of the FBI in general, and especially this current FBI when it comes to credibility, especially considering the whole Charlie Kirk situation. So we'll have to wait and see. The problem with what they are trying to do is not the voter. I'd live in New York and have to always show an ID when voting. This thing that they are trying, disenfranchise millions of women. California is rigged. Why would they want these boxes of votes back? Because again, you heard Rob Pitt say it, and someone was saying it in the chat too. Someone was saying that they're going to throw away some of the votes. That's what Rob Pitt said. He said, we don't know what they're going to do with the votes. You know, maybe they're going to take some of the votes and put more votes in there to say, aha, see, they added votes. These are where the votes are. Or maybe they're going to take some of them out like y'all were saying in the chat. Again, who knows? And we could ask the same thing about Fulton County. Did you guys put votes in there? Well, we don't know. So I don't know, man. It seems like, can we get another country to investigate this? I mean, you got one side investigate. It's crazy. Distrust of the FBI is definitely warranted. I don't know. You sound like one of them. I don't know what one of them is, but yes, you're probably right. All right, let's get to our next topic because we got to hear more from people complaining about what's going on in Fulton County and just democracy being attacked. This is an attack on democracy. You guys should be worried. You should be concerned. Now, we were already concerned when we couldn't figure out what was going on with the ballots here in Atlanta. And again, guys, can we stop acting like we didn't just hear from the elections office that, yeah, there were, a couple thousand, maybe 100,000 votes that weren't verified. Sorry, guys. Are we going to pretend like that didn't happen? Are we just going to pretend like election officials didn't come out and say that? Let me see if I could I need to find that for y'all, because we got to remember, this isn't something that one side is just making up. There is actual physical evidence, as shown by Greg Dolezal, as shown by their own. I'm going to find it for y'all. Hold on a second. Chairman, Fulton County, unverified. I should have this ready. And we played it in another video. But, I mean, the information is out there. So this isn't something that's just being made up and that one side is pretending like happened. There is actual issues with the voting system in Fulton County. Let me see. We have the no, that's not the one I want to find. And I think most of you know what I'm talking about, because we've talked about this several times on the channel. Venezuela was paid to count Michigan ballots. That's crazy. Some people ain't got $20 for ID. I mean, I'm sure you could file and maybe get one for free. Let's see if I can find this. I want to find this video for y'all, because it's important to see that this isn't something that's being made up. Here we go. It's 49 seconds. Check this out. And again, we're doing this on the fly, so y'all bear with me. Can y'all see me? Yeah. Here we go. I'm glad I was able to find this. Check this out. This is a video. Fulton County Board of Elections attorney Ann Brombaugh. She admits that 315,000 early votes were illegally certified during the 2020 election. Guys, come on, man. They're not making it up. The system is messed. The system's messed up. This is crazy. This is the Fulton County Board of Elections attorney, guys. Ann B, because I messed up her name. Listen to this.
I've not seen the tapes myself, but we do not dispute that the tapes were not signed. It was a violation of the rule. We messed up. It was a violation of the rule. 315,000 votes. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I've not seen the tapes myself, but we do not dispute that the tapes were not signed. It was a violation of the rule. Since 2020, again, we have new leadership and a new building and a new board and new standard operating procedures. And since then, the training has been enhanced. The poll watchers are trained specifically. They've got to sign the tapes in the morning, and they've got to sign the tapes when they're run at the end of the day.
Yeah, good job.
When the tapes come back to the hub for, with all the documentation, they are checked again. And if somebody forgot to sign a tape, then Fulton initiates an investigation. But we don't dispute the allegation.
Again, guys, they're not making it up. Something is wrong. Now, I pressed the wrong button. So if you have an issue with the investigation that's going on, you also have to take into account the verifiable facts that have been shown that there's a major problem here going on. Now, to what extent did that affect the 2020 election? That's really what's in question. It's not whether something happened or not. Y'all got to put that to the side. You have to put aside the whole narrative of, Donald Trump just won't let it go. No, we just heard from the attorney from the elections office say, yeah, we kind of violated the rules a little bit there, but hey guys, let it go. President Trump, let it go, dude. We've gotten better. We put systems in place. It's fine. Okay, let's just move on from it. Really? No, I don't think he should let it go. Why is Rob Pitts acting like Fulton County doesn't have a record on the election documents confiscated by the FBI? And if county doesn't, what does that say about them? Ann B should be removed for that strawberry blazer. Leave her alone. Leave it alone. I agree the system is messed up, but when you acknowledge that Starlink had a ton of play in the election and him winning the swing states, then maybe I'll listen. Okay, you can click off the video. We are definitely not talking today, so you're going to, if your view is going to be determined by which topics I decide to talk about, then yeah, probably should unsubscribe. You can even dislike the video if you want to and not listen to a word I have to say. We just up here talking anyway. Is the problem really about having an ID? You have to register to vote, correct? The registration process requires ID already. So the problem is the registration process, focus on that. Potentially, I agree. And Senator Greg Dolezal is saying the same thing. You have all these locations where people are able to register to vote. The problem is the registration process. Absolutely. Someone's always got to be dramatic. Hey, look at me, I'm leaving. That's like when people say that they're leaving and never coming back. Bye. That's okay. KB said, I agree. Yeah, y'all don't have to watch or you don't have to listen. It's okay. We're going to be here talking anyway. I'm just talking. Don't take it that serious. All right, let's get to this next part. Some of y'all will enjoy this and resonate with this because, man, we are going to listen to yet another Fulton County official, John Ossoff, specifically talk about an issue he has with the FBI raid and why he thinks this is all a mistake and a threat to democracy, as has been said by multiple people going through this process. Now, we played during the break, during the intermission, we played Ann B., the attorney for the elections office, admitting that, yeah, there were 315,000 votes that weren't verified. But guys, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. We moved on from it. We've gotten better. We figured out a new system and we should just let it go. It doesn't really have any impact. So again, take that for what you will. There is evidence out there that the system is a mess. We've gone into Greg Dolezal's investigation into these voter registration locations, systems messed up there. The voter registration software that's being used is outdated. And there have been 9 separate flaws that have been found in this system that could be critical and impact how voting is done here in Fulton County. Let's hear from Greg Dolezal and what he has to say about this entire situation. You can count an illegal ballot 10 times or 10,000 times. It's still illegal. Fulton County elections are a disgrace. Glad the FBI is here to uncover the truth. We'll see.
We knew that essentially there was all sorts of craziness happening all over the state, but it was Fulton County was kind of the epicenter of it. And we did this recount here, and everybody likes to talk about the fact that, well, you had 3 recounts. We had 3 recounts, but we had a bunch of ballots in the mix that probably never should have been in the mix. No matter how often you count a fraudulent ballot or an illegal ballot, it's still an illegal ballot. And so we knew at the time, first and foremost, that drop boxes had been invented out of thin air, meaning that we had deployed drop boxes all over the state that was nowhere in Georgia law. But since we were under a COVID executive order, the Secretary of State had the ability to do that. We had this mobile voting unit driving all around Fulton County, collecting ballots from people who would show up at a precinct that maybe wasn't a precinct that would be open on that day, but they used Zuckerberg money to deploy these mobile voting units to 80% Democrat precincts, of course. But then if you fast forward to today, you've got all of these illegal voters registered to vote, UPS stores, pack mails, empty lots, abandoned buildings, homeless shelters that have been closed since 2017. It's madness. And so Fulton County is an incompetent county. And the reason I think that the FBI came was because the FBI has been kind of kicking the tires around here for the last couple of weeks. And they went to a judge. They got probable cause using what evidence we don't know, but the judge looked at that and said, there's probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed here. And so that's the real interesting thing here is what is the crime? How many criminals were there? And what charges may come out of this? That's what we don't know. But what we do know is there were double scanned ballots in Fulton County. The recount numbers never reconciled. And then all of the other things in essentially the execution of that election that were nowhere in Georgia law.
And again, this man has done the work. He's done the footwork to show exactly where the issues are. They've looked at the ballots. They've been able to see exactly what's happening inside of this system that is completely flawed. And Clearly, that's what the FBI is looking into. How this investigation is going to be handled, again, as I've said before, that's another thing. But there is something there. Senator Ossoff, let's see what he has to say about this. Obviously, as someone who benefited from the 2020 election, as many others did, he's not happy about what's going on with this raid.
Senator John Ossoff joining us. Senator, thank you so much for being here with us. I want to ask you about this upcoming primary that we have in May going into the November election. You have three notable Republican candidates who are hoping to unseat you in November. They have been critical of your time in office. What is your message to your opponents? And is there anything that you would like for them to put on the record when it comes to them proving that they have a priority to the American people and not to President Donald Trump?
Thank you for having me. And let me first say there's a reason that so many mainstream, reasonable Georgia Republicans are expressing such shock and alarm at this Trump administration ballot raid in Fulton County, Georgia, where the nation's spy chief, Tulsi Gabbard, whose role is to protect the nation from foreign threats, is inexplicably seizing ballots in the state of Georgia, a continuation of President Trump's obsession with overturning the 2020 election. This is the same president who tried to intimidate Georgia election officials to, quote, find him the votes to win in a state he had lost. And these conspiracy theories now being pursued by federal law enforcement that the president is abusing as a political tool. It's deeply concerning, and that's why the concern and the shock and the outrage is not just Democrats, it's Republicans as well here in Georgia. And so I think that my opponents in this Senate race need to answer a very simple question. Do they accept that Joe Biden won the presidential election in 2020, or are they going to join the ranks of these extreme conspiracy theorists in order to curry favor with Donald Trump?
And again, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest. John makes a great point there. And this is a point that I brought up once we were talking about the dismissal of the election interference case. I called it before it happened. Some others did, but many people were still on the fence on whether the election interference case was going to go forward. I said, there is no way that an attorney is going to take this case against a seated president. No way. I knew the election interference case didn't have a chance for that reason and many other reasons, obviously, because it was BS. And John couldn't be making a good point. I mean, the president of the United States is in office right now. Is that really something that you want to do in going against him? And most likely the fact that we're going to have a Republican in office in the White House for the next 8 years, or I guess it would be 7 years now. Probably not. So again, fair point by him.
Senator Ossoff, I know that I heard back from at least one of your opponents, Buddy Carter, who says that doubling down that there was fraud in the 2020 election. I spoke with Congressman Collins last week when this happened and asked him about this. He said he wants the truth to come out of this. We have not heard from candidate Derek Dooley, but there are people who truly feel that there are still unanswered questions here, at least Mr. Carter and Mr. Collins saying that what's the harm in searching this again? What's your response to them?
Well, 3 recounts and countless audits later, Donald Trump continues to peddle these conspiracy theories, the same theories that led to the January 6th riot at the Capitol when a violent mob was trying to hunt down the Speaker of the House and the Vice President to attack them, based in large part on Donald Trump's conspiracy theories about Georgia. He just can't let it go. He's obsessed, still 6 years later, with everything we face as a country, with health insurance premiums skyrocketing, tariffs driving costs through the roof. He is spending his time and using federal law enforcement to chase these conspiracy theories from the 2020 election. And it sounds like my opponents are unwilling to break with him and are choosing to pander to the president's obsessions rather than to tell the truth.
Nah, well, I mean, there were 300,000 votes that weren't verified. So as I keep saying, there is something there. The question is, who's going to be the one to actually look into this? That's enough of John crying over there. Let's actually talk about Tulsi Gabbard, who was involved in this investigation. As we heard, Secretary of Intelligence, National Intelligence, was involved in the 2020 FBI election raid. That seems kind of interesting and maybe a little bit much for something that would be pretty straightforward. So is there more there? Let's see what they had to say about this.
Questions are growing over the FBI seizure of 2020 election ballots from a Georgia election office. National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard says President Trump directed her to attend that raid. But now Trump says that was Attorney General Pam Bondi's call. Let's bring in White House correspondent Karen Travers for more on that. Hi, Karen. What's the White House saying about this raid and why Tulsi Gabbard was there?
President Trump just spoke about this at the National Prayer Breakfast here in Washington. And Diane, he said that it was the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who insisted that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, be there at that raid at the Fulton County Elections Office. Here's what the president had to say just a couple minutes ago.
She took a lot of heat 2 days ago because she went in at Pam's insistence. She went in and she looked at votes that want to be checked out from Georgia. They see, why is she doing it? Right, Pam? Why is she doing it? Because Pam wanted her to do it. And you know why? Because she's smart.
Diane, at Pam's insistence and because Pam wanted her to do that. Those are two key lines from the president there, because remember, just earlier this week, we had learned that Tulsi Gabbard had sent a letter to Democrats in the Senate saying that she was there in Fulton County at the request of the president. That's why she was there for that raid with FBI agents. We also know that she had a speakerphone conversation where she had FBI agents who were involved in this on the phone with the president. The White House said that that was a thank you call for the president talking to those agents. The president also today talking about that raid, suggesting that this has to be investigated because of potential foreign election interference. Diane, there are a lot of questions, though, about why the Director of National Intelligence is getting involved in this situation down there in Georgia.
And Karen, the president's also now calling for federal controls in elections. You're hearing any more about how he wants that to happen?
No, he's essentially saying that it's Congress that needs to do this. That's what he said earlier this week, saying it's lawmakers who have to take action on this. But Diane, he is keeping up this refrain that there should be federal involvement in local and state elections and at the national level, that it shouldn't be states who are managing this. And we've talked about this, how
That's
this is a
interesting
responsibility and an authority given to states under the Constitution. But the president has not let this go, despite significant pushback, even from some Republicans, including the top leaders in the House and Senate, both of whom have come out and say they do not support federalizing elections and do not think this is a good idea.
All right, Karen Travers.
Well, we need to hear a good reason why they don't think it's a good idea. I haven't heard one yet. Again, we're going to keep up to date on this investigation, what happens here. Again, not completely sold myself on the FBI being involved in this investigation, as we've seen in recent as a year, the FBI mishandling investigations. We'll talk about that at a later time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments in the chat. Shout out to those of y'all in the building, man. We got over 1,300 of you in here. We just talking. Hey, listen, there's a reason I'm not going to say I'm on one side or the other. I'm on the side of truth. I'm on the side of objectivity, on the side of facts. And the fact is, there is something there. And there's always going to be truth in some of the things you hear from either side. As I pointed out, John Ossoff saying that, listen, nobody wants to go against the president right now. So these guys pandering to the president of the United States saying, oh, yeah, Mr. President, you go get him, Mr. President. They benefit there. It's politics, which is why I can't stand this, because really, in a lot of cases, in most cases, it's not necessarily someone looking out for the best interests of the people. If the best interests of the people benefits from a decision that's being made, cool. Otherwise, politics, politicians, it's going to be what it's going to be. But at the same time, we can agree and we can say there are facts there that something happened, something went on during this election that we're looking into in 2020. And I think that's the thing here. What we're going to find, who knows? Could it all at the end just be a whole lot of nothing? Could this just be a play to affect the midterms, affect the next 4, 8 years of the presidency? Possibly. Most likely. We'll have to wait and see. Shout out to y'all, man. Thank you to everybody who's in here listening to us talk. Hey, listen, I know y'all don't. I know about John Ossoff. It's okay. It's all right. Listen, at the end of the day, you can make a good point. You can still be wrong on 99% of all the stuff that's being said, and and still be right on one thing. I think John Ossoff was right on that point. There's an incentive and there's a reason why no one wanted to take that case. Now, obviously, the election interference case Fannie Willis brought, I think, from what we've seen, it was total and complete BS in the first place and never should have been brought. Secondly, who's going to want to pick that up and try and push that narrative? I don't know any attorney that'll be like, oh yeah, you know what? Sure. I'll take on the president of the United States. I don't think so. I can't see it happening. Either way, shout out to Amy. Shout out to my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy E in here, dropping the super sticker. Thank you for the support, Amy. Look at her. Reminding me, as always, she's got the cakiest cake that ever existed. And, you know, it's well past lunchtime. So, I mean, lunch is lunch. We'll get there when we get there, Amy. Thank you for the love. If y'all haven't yet, please go support Amy's channel. The link is in the description. Go subscribe, hit the notification bell over there. If you enjoy body cam footage and a lot of other content, you want to go subscribe to her channel. She has some amazing videos she posted, and you can sit there and watch all of Amy's videos on her channel for days. So y'all go binge watch the content on Amy's channel. I know she'll appreciate it, and I will as well. He is just afraid he himself was not voted for. Yeah, 2020, that's when John got up in there. So, I mean, is he worried about what they're going to find? We're going to have to wait and see. Let's get into our next topic. And this one is a little bit more sad. I'll read a couple more comments. Never forget the grand jury election evidence was leaked to the media. Oh, there's even more than that. That's a Fulton County specialty. Leaking stuff to the media is the Fulton County #1 special. Y'all should know that by now. That's what we do. Things aren't going the right way. Oh, let's leak it. Why did Tulsi dress up like Storm from the X-Men? Shout out to Tulsi. Hey, listen. I won't say I'm a fan of Tulsi, but she's done some things. So we ain't mad at her. Donald Trump's the best president ever, and he is telling the truth about all this. We'll have to see. Hey, shout out to Regina. We know how Regina voted. I ain't mad at it. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite for sure. Definitely one of my favorite. It's been a fun time with President Donald J. Trump. All right, let's keep it moving. Get to this next topic. Again, this one is a little bit more sad. Definitely a lot more tragic because we're talking about what's been going on with Nancy Guthrie. And recently her family has released another video in light of her abduction and in light of these deadlines we heard from the FBI that are fastly approaching. Now, there was a 5 o'clock deadline yesterday on Thursday afternoon that was supposed to be set. We're finding out, obviously, that deadline wasn't reached. The ransom note writers or the abductors, they didn't get what they wanted at that point. And now there's a second deadline that's being talked about, and we're going to talk about in this video and another video. But Amy posted over on X this video that was recently released on Savannah Guthrie's Instagram by her family, by her brother, asking again and pleading with the abductors to bring their mother home. All right, so Amy posted this on X. If you don't follow Amy, make sure you go support her at IAMYLEIGH on X. That's at IAmyLea on X. She says this: Nancy Guthrie's son issued a plea for his mother's safe return in a new video released on Savannah Guthrie's social media page. Check it out.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
And that's it. That's all he's posted. That's all that was said so far. We heard the original video that was done with Savannah and her sister and her brother as well. And now we're trying to find out more information to see if there's any updates into her location. Now, it was said by the FBI, and if you listen to these press conferences clearly, you can hear certain key points that they make. One of the things the FBI said during the press conference yesterday was that they've maybe seen some videos that Nancy is still okay, but they said it's hard to tell. It's hard to verify because of the emergence of AI and how good AI is at making something look real that may not be. So they want a more verifiable way of knowing that Nancy is okay and is alive. It's assumed that she is. And then we're going to hear an update from TMZ about this entire situation, the ransom note, and the impending deadline that was pushed by these kidnappers. Check it out.
alleged ransom note 20 times last night, and there is something that piqued my interest from the beginning. And I believe now that there is a way of connecting the dots, and that law enforcement has an area that they are most interested in terms of where Nancy might be, if this letter is legit. And I say it for this reason, that obviously the person who took Nancy, if this is the person who wrote this ransom letter, they're demanding money. And if they get the money, they're saying they will return her. That's obvious, right? Well, in the letter, it says they would return her back to Tucson. So they also give a time frame of how long it would take after they receive the money to return her to Tucson. So there's a time frame. Now, if you look at the time frame, then you say, well, you can draw a circle around Tucson to see how long maximum it would take to get her back there. And they're not going to fly her back, because the last thing they're going to do is go to an airport where Nancy Guthrie shows ID. That's not going to happen.
Guys, again, as we've seen and as we know in these kidnapping situations, as we know in a lot of murder situations, a lot of times these criminals will be watching what's being said on the news. And it's unfortunate that even if this were true, that this is being said, because now if you're hearing this as somebody who kidnapped them, you're probably thinking, oh, dang, guys, we got to move. We got to go further because they're going to be searching in this area. So could this be a tactic by the FBI? Could TMZ be working with the FBI and maybe they're trying to get them on the move because now they realize, oh, okay, they're in this area, so maybe they can catch them and throw them off? That could be potentially it. But I'm just, again, surprised that TMZ is giving this much information and saying that in this case, which makes me think maybe the FBI is involved and made a phone call to TMZ and say, hey, if you can, say something about this and point out that it could be in this area. Maybe we could get them to move on the location that they're at. Maybe we could intercept them. Maybe someone will spot them now that there's more news coverage out there. I'm hoping this is the case and it's not just TMZ saying, hey, we got this information. Let's go ahead and share it. So definitely prayers for Nancy on this.
So clearly it would be driving.
Man.
And they're not going to drive at 100 miles an hour because if they get stopped for speeding, it's over. So they're going to go at around the speed limit. So let's say that if this letter is legit, they would travel at about 60 miles an hour. So based on this time frame in the letter and the fact that she would be returned back to Tucson, here's the way it looks. If you look, this is Tucson right here. If you look at this red circle, that is the radius of the maximum amount of time it would take to get her back to Tucson, all around this circle. It incorporates
That's a big area.
California, Nevada, Utah, Idaho. It incorporates Colorado, Wyoming, a little bit of Kansas, and a little bit of Oklahoma.
Guys, this is not helpful at all. Do y'all know how much desert is it here? Texas, Mexico, Nevada, Colorado, Utah. I mean, dang, this is not helpful at all. But again, I guess it's something.
Now that's a big area for sure.
Yeah.
But it is not the full United States. It's not the world. At least it's a defined area.
Unless they do have a plane.
If the letter is legitimate, then it would seem, based on the amount of time maximum it would take to bring her back to Tucson, it's this area that I would think authorities are most interested in. And remember, they are looking for anybody who possibly has information on the whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie. So there's a $50,000 reward for information leading to her return.
It's a lot of money.
So I would think that this area is particularly interesting to them. I want to say a couple of other things. The letter, people have been asking, does it seem like it's written by just a crazy person? And the answer is no. This letter was very well constructed. It had structure.
Makes sense.
It had a beginning, middle, and end. It was well done. I mean, if you took this letter to an English teacher and said, give me notes on structure, on grammar, you probably would get no notes back. It's done by somebody, I believe, who is educated and really spent time. This was not something that took 5 minutes to write. This was a well-constructed letter.
Interesting.
Final thing I want to say, and now this is opinion, that it is interesting to me that we got this ransom letter, but also the other two media outlets that got the ransom letters were both located in Tucson. They were television stations in Tucson.
That makes sense.
Why would somebody who wrote a letter like this know about the local stations and send to the local stations if they have no connection to Tucson? It feels like there is a connection to Tucson with the person who wrote this letter. And, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, it happened because Savannah Guthrie is rich and famous, which she is. But is it that somebody looked at Savannah Guthrie and said, let's find a relative? Or is it somebody who lives in the Tucson area and either knows Nancy Guthrie or knows of her and knows her famous daughter is Savannah Guthrie, and it hatches from that? It seems to me, just based on where the letter went, that it's the latter. So the bottom line here, I know that the law enforcement has been saying they are desperate for clues, and they clearly are. But just in terms of the people who might help, I think heads up in this area.
Yeah, and hopefully that's helpful information. Doesn't seem like very helpful information to me. Obviously, you would look at the states closely connected, having the radius based on what they said. Who knows? I mean, they could have a plane. That's highly possible. That they could have a plane. They could have other means of transportation that maybe were quicker. They could be moving reckless. We don't know in this situation. And then, of course, we've got an update here on what the family is saying and what we're hearing from the family about Nancy Guthrie. Check this out from today.
This morning, new details on the increasingly desperate search for Nancy Guthrie.
Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you.
Late last night, Savannah posting this video of her brother Cameron talking directly to the person or people who potentially took their 84-year-old mother.
We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom.
The video was posted just minutes after the first of two deadlines on a reported ransom note sent to 3 news outlets, according to the FBI.
The ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today. And if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday.
The special agent in charge says the FBI is still investigating the legitimacy of the ransom note, which he says referenced in Apple Watch and floodlights information that was publicly available. But the note did not include any contact information.
In a normal kidnapping case, there would be contact by now.
Authorities also arresting a man they say sent a hoax ransom demand to Savannah's sister Annie and brother-in-law.
To those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation, we will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions.
Now entering the 6th day of the search, authorities still have no suspect or person of interest in the case.
Which is
but they did
insane.
release a more detailed timeline of the night Nancy disappeared. They say at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnected. At 2:12, software detected movement on a camera. And at 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app disconnected. Authorities also confirming blood found on the porch was Nancy's. The sheriff tells us investigators do not have the doorbell security camera from Nancy Guthrie's house and have not been able to access any surveillance footage from the home.
What gives you hope that Nancy is still out there?
Wow. You have to have hope. You have to have hope. You can't. Come on, this is somebody's mom. We're going to find her.
Shout out to Sheriff Nanos. I mean, I think he's doing his best out there, and you can tell that this is affecting him. Obviously, it's affecting the family as well. I mean, gosh, what do you do in a situation like this? What do you do? They're looking everywhere. You see this ridiculous radius that TMZ is showing potentially where she was taken. Just prayers that she's still alive. I know a lot of people have mentioned that this happens often. We even had someone right here in Atlanta, Lil Jon's son, who was missing, and then he was found a day later. So hopefully this will be the case. Nancy will be returned, and this whole ransom situation can be sorted out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments in the chat, and we'll keep reporting on this as we get new information. Thank y'all for the love, man. Still 1,500 of you in here. We're going to say 15,000 of y'all up in this thing. And y'all are support major. Now, guys, I don't ask for much, but please like the video. Those likes are looking sad. We got 500 likes, and thank you to all 500 of you who liked the video. There's 1,500 of you in here. So we're missing about 1,000 likes. Now, guys, likes are free. It takes less than a second to do. So in the time that I said, please like, you could have liked already. So go ahead and do that. Please, please, please. Thank you to Amy for reminding y'all to do it too. Ossoff is a liar, and we, the American people, have been gaslit by the lies for too long. My question is, who do you get to investigate this? I mean, let's be real, guys. Let's be real. You've got one side versus the other side. You've got the left side versus the right side when it comes to this investigation into Fulton County. Can you trust in and can you have faith in the FBI's, should I say, impartiality, lack of bias in this case, in this investigation? I don't know that I can. Do you trust Fulton County's ability in the past in 2020, Rob Pitt's ability to make sure the votes were recounted, make sure the voting was done well, when we've already seen the flaws in this registration system, in the voting system? No. So who do you trust at this point? I guess all we're looking for is for something. We want someone to try and find the truth. Are we going to get that from the FBI? I don't know. Does this need to happen? Yes, it does, because I've shown multiple examples. Greg Dolezal has shown multiple examples of how this system, specifically in Fulton County, is just messed up. Something has to be done, or we can just keep pretending like it's not going to change anything, which might be true. But we got to find the truth one way or another. So we'll see. We'll see if we get it. We will see. Sheriff looks complicit, like the sheriff of Las Vegas. That is also the sheriff. Oh yeah, Lahaina. Let's get messed up here. Oh, go Max. Oh no, we doing that now? Lord have mercy. Shout out to Candace. Oh man. All right. So now we've got to talk about our main topic, and y'all saw this in the title. We've got to get into the person who was arrested for this fake ransom note. And this type of person who would do this is just absolutely diabolical, because we're finding out, and there are reports that the person who produced this fake ransom note in reference to the return of Nancy Guthrie has been arrested, as they should. This is absolutely disgusting. And even if they received some type of money or they were to get away with this is still disgusting in every sense of the word, because this is a real woman whose real life is at stake. She has a real family who cares about her. And for someone to try and benefit from this monetarily is just evil at its purest form. So we're going to talk about it here, see what information they have on this person's arrest, who they are, and how they may be connected to the Guthrie family. Check this out.
We are also learning a man with ties to Los Angeles was arrested and charged federally for allegedly contacting relatives of Nancy Guthrie. According to court documents obtained by Fox 11 just yesterday, Derek Calleja is facing federal charges over allegations of reaching out to Nancy Guthrie's relatives asking about the ransom. Now, we also do have another post here from TMZ that I wanted to see if we could get up on our screen here, as we were hearing from Harvey Levin, who is the founder of TMZ. He was speaking to Sean Hannity just the other night, providing new information about a ransom note his newsroom received in the case of Nancy Guthrie. And Levin outlined that while an initial Thursday deadline for the alleged ransom note had passed, a second Monday deadline is far more consequential. And you could see on your screen there just a snippet of what Levin said. I do want to read just a portion of it to you. It says, "I will say the letter begins by saying she is safe but scared." And they go on to say she knows exactly what the demand is. They are, through us, telling the family exactly what they are demanding. They are saying that Nancy is aware of it. They are also saying that this will be their only communication and that they are done communicating and negotiating. Here's the deal, and that's it. As the clock ticks, that's one of the reasons the FBI and other authorities have gotten desperate here, because as far as we can tell, it's impossible to trace the origin of this email. I will say there are real reasons based on what's written here that I believe the person is within the radius of the Tucson area. So again, appearing on Sean Hannity's show there on Fox News just last night, sharing that information here with us. Now, we also do know that Savannah Guthrie's brother renewed the family's plea for their mother's kidnapper to contact them hours after an Arizona sheriff said investigators don't have proof Nancy Guthrie is alive, but, quote, believe she is still out there. I quickly wanted to share that video here with you right now.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Wow. Very sad situation here. And let's actually go and see how this person was connected and could potentially actually be connected to the ones that kidnapped Nancy Guthrie. He was an ex-LA County worker. We're going to find out more information here from Fox News in LA.
A Hawthorne man is facing federal charges in a fraudulent ransom scheme tied to the high-profile disappearance of NBC Savannah Guthrie's mother. It's a story, of course, everyone has been following. Prosecutors say Derek Colella demanded Bitcoin from the Guthrie family after 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie went missing from her Arizona home. The FBI actually arrested Colella in Hawthorne today. The investigation moved quickly. The search for Guthrie is now entering day 5. Tonight, investigators say no one's been ruled out as a suspect. The Pima County Sheriff says there are still no suspects identified, though. And now a new plea from the Guthrie family just within the past hour.
Now, again, saying there's no suspects identified, wouldn't the person writing a fake ransom note be considered a suspect? Maybe they have something. Maybe they were a part of this whole scheme and it was just used to throw the police off. Again, I don't want to get into this conspiracy theory, but you would think they would keep this person, question them, not just charge them and send them on their way. That's someone I would be interested in knowing more information about, and if they do have some insight into what happened to Nancy Guthrie.
It's identified, though, and now a new plea from the Guthrie family just within the past hour.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Fox's Sarah Legre live in Tucson, Arizona with the latest on this mystery. Sarah?
Well, Phil, earlier today we heard from FBI investigators, and they mentioned some new details about that ransom note that was shared with television stations earlier this week. Inside of it, a 5 p.m. deadline for today. That is the same time that Savannah Guthrie posted that new video on Instagram, this time of Cameron Guthrie, as you just heard, telling their mother's captors, "We want to talk." As the search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie enters another day Thursday, authorities speaking directly to whoever is responsible for her disappearance, calling for immediate action.
You still have the time to do the right thing before this becomes a much worse scenario for you.
The FBI has announced a $50,000 reward for any information leading to Nancy's safe return or the arrest of anyone involved. Nancy was last seen at her Tucson home just before 10 Saturday night after dinner with family. Early Sunday morning, a doorbell camera disconnected at 1:47. Minutes later, software detected someone on camera, but there's no video. By 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app disconnected from her phone. Sheriff Nano says that there's no way to recover that video because there's no subscription for the camera.
They've run out of ways to recover any video.
All of this comes after Guthrie's children released an emotional video Wednesday, pleading for their mother's safe return and asking for proof of life.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
Police also addressed ransom notes that have been sent to the local and national media. One of the notes set a deadline for 5 p.m. Thursday. If not met, another deadline was set for Monday.
Any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family.
And again, I have a feeling now with all this new information coming out, either they're going to find her by Monday or there's going to be another ransom note says something similar to, oh, since you guys think you can figure out the radius of where we are, we moved and now you have even less time. So I'm not sure if this was a strategy being used by the FBI trying to say that there's a radius of where they could be located. Obviously, it includes several states. I think six or seven states, including Mexico. Have to wait and see.
And Phil, as you noted earlier, they've arrested the Los Angeles County man for sending fake ransom texts to the Guthrie family demanding Bitcoin payments. But investigators, they wanted to make it clear at this point, there's no direct line or direct link, rather, between those messages along with the ransom notes that were passed along to TV stations earlier this week. Phil, back to you.
All right, shout out to Phil. And then last but not least, we've got more information here on Fox News when it comes to this deadline that we've heard discussed. What's the deadline Monday, and where actually are they? What are they supposed to do when it comes to trying to get this ransom figured out? I can imagine that they're working really hard to either get the ransom done, especially since the president of the United States is personally looking into this one, or take care of it themselves.
To a Fox News alert, new information emerging in the case of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance as the desperate search now enters day 6.
Law enforcement is racing against the clock, with the FBI confirming the first deadline from an alleged ransom note has expired and the next deadline set for Monday.
So Arizona investigators say they believe the 84-year-old is still out there as the Guthrie family now shares a second video addressing any possible captor. Here's that message from Nancy's son, Cameron, asking for proof of his mother still being alive. Watch.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
And we're still waiting. We have Fox team coverage right now on the ground in Tucson. Fox News contributor, retired NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow is live in front of the Pima County Sheriff's Office. But we begin with Alicia Acuna, who's right outside the home where Nancy was taken. Alicia.
Good morning, Brian. Some of the most significant information authorities gave to reporters yesterday was that timeline, which began on Saturday at 5:32 p.m. when Nancy Guthrie took an Uber to her family's home for dinner. At 9:48 p.m., a family member drops her back at home.
And that family member is the son-in-law.
Evidenced by the garage door opening at 9:48 and then closing 2 minutes later. Then at 1:47 Sunday morning, her doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12, the sheriff says software detects a person on its camera. 16 minutes later, Nancy's pacemaker app disconnects from the phone. At 11:56 that morning, the family checks in on her after she didn't show up for church. 12:03.
This is an important note, guys. And again, I can imagine law enforcement is keying in on this. But unless Nancy was screaming about, "Oh, I need my medicine. Don't do this. I have a pacemaker." These people are either experienced, very experienced, they knew who Nancy was, or they just were able to move and understand and comprehend those things quickly. Because why would they think there would be anything there with the pacemaker? How would they know that? Unless they had previous information or they had been following Nancy. They knew about it from researching her. So I think this is an important note because that's 15 minutes. 15 minutes probably felt like an eternity for Nancy during this time. But 15 minutes is very quick if you're trying to abduct somebody. I can imagine there was a struggle. She was sleeping. They were trying to get her out of there. I mean, who knows? So for them to figure all of that out within 15 minutes and the pacemaker be disconnected seems like that might be something important to this investigation.
Minutes later. Then at 1:47 Sunday morning, her doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12, the sheriff says software detects a person on its camera. 16 minutes later, Nancy's pacemaker app disconnects from the phone. At 11:56 that morning, the family checks in on her after she didn't show up for church. 12:03, they call 911. At 12:15, the first patrol arrives. Investigators say they have talked to that Uber driver from Saturday, and that camera that detected a person didn't have a paid subscription, so the images weren't saved. The FBI also says they are taking the ransom note that was sent to TMZ and local TV stations in Tucson seriously. The FBI confirmed there were 2 deadlines in the ransom note. The first one passed at 5 p.m. yesterday. That came with specific demands. If not met, a second deadline kicks in for this Monday. Agents are back out going door to door in both Nancy's neighborhood and that of her daughter Annie. The sheriff gave this assessment of where he believes things stand.
Here we go.
Right now, we believe Nancy is still out there. We want her home. Our department, the Sheriff's Department, along with all of our partners at the FBI, have been working around the clock. And we just want her home and find a way to get to the bottom of all of this.
Oh, please cue me. Go.
Yeah.
The FBI has brought in a critical response team from Quantico. They have a team also processing social media evidence and phone and digital footprints. Back to you.
All right. Thanks so much. Let's bring in Fox News contributor.
All right, so we're not going to get into the contributor there. Again, some very shocking, sad information when it comes to this investigation. Hopefully, some of these clues will help lead to finding Nancy. Again, we're going to keep you guys up to date on what's going on with this investigation. When and if she's found, I think she will be soon, or at least we'll hear more information from the kidnappers in this case. Let me know what you guys think in the comments in the chat. Thank y'all for the love, man. Appreciate everybody who liked the video. Okay, the likes are looking a little bit better. They're looking a little bit better. I appreciate y'all. Let me double check this one thing and we'll get into our next topic, because we're going to hear from TMZ on some more information they're finding in this ransom note, because this seems to be a big topic of discussion because the deadline's fast approaching. Now the deadline moved to Monday, as we heard. So we'll have to see what's going on with that Monday deadline. Again, it's not looking great, but we'll have to wait and see. Let me see what y'all are saying in here. Amy says it's been uploaded to multiple platforms. My friend has a pacemaker, and OTS reported directly to the doctor if there's a problem, and 911's called to the location. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I thought they said $50,000 reward. I gotta double check this. I'm pretty sure they said 50,000, not 15,000. Reward. Let me see if I could find this. I'm pretty sure it's 50. Yeah, it is 50,000. But still, I mean, 50,000 doesn't seem like that big either. But again, y'all have made fair points, and this is not, I don't even want to say this. These kidnappings do happen often. I mean, we could tell there are people close to me who could tell you some stories, inside information about kidnappings that happen on a daily basis, kidnappings that are happening right now, especially here in Fulton County. A lot of you know what goes on here at the Atlanta airport. It's wild out here. So sad, man. So sad to see this. Let's get into this next topic. And I want to talk about some things that are going on in the crime scene, because we've got more information about what happened at the crime scene and what was found there by investigators. Let's get this one here and we'll get into it. Amy said FBI is offering $15K and the family and the community are offering $50,000. Okay, so 15 from the FBI, 50,000. Really? I thought it was the other way around. But hey, it's Amy's saying it, so I'm not going to doubt. Yeah, and let's see. The sheriff said 50,000. FBI offering 50,000. So many people looking for missing loved ones who don't get this much attention. It's true. Yeah, I thought it was 50,000 too. I could be wrong. There was someone who said they have the same app for his pacemaker and said it will disconnect if you're like 100 feet away from the phone. I believe he said it maybe a bit further. Yeah, it doesn't take much because they're connected by Bluetooth. So, well, it's Friday, so we'll see you on Monday. Yeah, I appreciate you, Taco Tuesday. Thanks for stopping by. Let me get this next topic up here, because we're finding out more information about what happened at this crime scene and exactly what was found by investigators. As we know, the FBI opened the crime scene back up. That was revealed during the press conference we saw yesterday. So now that the crime scene has been opened back up, we're finding some more information about what possibly could have happened to Nancy Guthrie. So the FBI opened back up the crime scene at Nancy Guthrie's house. And of course, the blood was confirmed to be Nancy Guthrie's. We heard that in the press conference from yesterday, and we're able to see some new images from the crime scene from the FBI and several people who were there reporting on this. Check this out from Fox News.
Was on with Sean last night. And just to set up this soundbite, remember a few days ago he said they received a ransom letter. We learned on Sean's show last night it came in the form of an email, and they're not apparently able to trace that email. Here he is on Sean's show talking about what that ransom letter said more specifically.
We received what looked like a ransom letter. And so we called the sheriff's department in Pima, and they took the information. There was something in that letter that caught my eye at the end where they mention both, now I can say it because the FBI said it, an Apple Watch and a damaged floodlight. what I found interesting, because we knew she wore an Apple Watch. There are pictures of her with Savannah with that watch. But they mentioned where the watch was, the placement of the watch in the house. And that's not something that was out there. And a couple hours later, the FBI called, and they wanted a lot of information. So when I said there are 2 deadlines, yes, there is one that changes the demand, and that's the one that that has already passed. And the one on Monday is far more consequential. We're not sure that this is really written by the person who has Nancy. But I will say the letter begins by saying she is safe but scared. And they go on to say she knows exactly what the demand is. The Sheriff's Department gave the family the letter we received, exactly what they're demanding, and they're saying that Nancy is aware of it. They're saying that this will be their only communication. And they are done communicating, negotiating, here's the deal, and that's it. And, you know, as the clock ticks, I think that's one of the reasons the FBI and other authorities have, you know, gotten desperate here, because as far as we can tell, it's impossible to trace the origin of this email.
How's that even possible?
A lot of things. He also said that, you know, we believe this person is from the Tucson area because they seem to know the local TV market, which is a CBS affiliate. We thought Savannah Guthrie think NBC. Why wouldn't they contact NBC? But if that person's from that area, that's what the local market is.
Well, that includes TMZ as well. Remember, TMZ is on the local markets as well. It's on Fox, on the local Fox. So all of these channels that they sent the letter to were the local affiliates. The other thing that he talks about is that he feels like this guy, and he believes this guy, is very intelligent. He says he's crazy, obviously, for kidnapping, but he also thinks that the guy had no grammatical mistakes or anything. So he talks about the mind of this person, Ainsley.
Yeah, and then when Savannah's brother, Cameron, released the other video on Instagram, he's pleading with his mother's captor for proof of life, and he says, we haven't heard anything directly, meaning we didn't receive a ransom letter. That went to the media. So clearly whoever is doing this wants this out, wants the media attention. The doorbell camera, even though it has been reported there's no video available, they didn't have an active paid subscription, but we do know the Ring doorbell was knocked off. Someone took it with them, maybe just wondering whether or not it was recording. But we also are hearing that the tech company ran out of ways to recover the doorbell video. The camera disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Maybe that means it was taken off the wall. But the software company detected movement at 2:12. The tech company's exhausted all ways to recover any video from the device, but multiple cameras located in the home, they say. Investigators are not sure which camera detected the movement.
Yeah, they said, just to talk about what you were saying,
That's
Lawrence,
a good question, too.
They said the letter was layered. He said it was a layered letter that really lays things out. Yeah. They made a substantial demand in terms of Bitcoin money, I guess. They said, you know, if there was an English teacher that was looking at the structure and the grammar of everything, I think they would have no notes. In other words, the person might be evil, but that person is not, or the people are not dumb.
Let's break that down with former FBI supervisor agent James Gagliano. He also oversaw the crisis in the hostage negotiator unit in New York City and was the former acting legal attaché in Mexico City, where he oversaw kidnappings of American citizens south of the border. James, it's good to see you, my friend. Let's talk about where Brian left off about the mind of this person. James, I find this to be the most compelling piece of evidence thus far.
Yeah, I think so, LJ, and thanks for having me, guys. This case becomes more baffling and beguiling by the day. And I think to your guys' point, you know, messaging has got to be sharpened and tightened here. Right. I applaud the Pima County Sheriff for suggesting we're not going to give any more press conferences if there's nothing new to be released, nothing that can be helped by crowdsourcing. Look, kidnappings happen for one of two reasons. It's either for profit or it's for revenge. And I saw these south of the border and certainly in the United States. The FBI has been doing this a long time. 1932, the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. 1963, Frank Sinatra Jr., another celebrity. And in the 70s, Patty Hearst. Yeah, this one does not meet muster with any of the traditional type of kidnappings. Why? We still don't know if this was a targeted attack, if this was a targeted abduction. And I think, again, we've got to just be careful on the law enforcement side, have a singular message, and don't flood the zone.
James, what about the ransom?
I mean, it was targeted. We just don't know in what way. Because, I mean, we've seen the pictures of the neighborhood. Look at how many houses they had to skip over. Why would they pick this one? Doesn't make any sense. And it seemingly happened in the middle of the night. Maybe some other people had security. Media asked about whether there were signs of forced entry. So maybe she had the doors unlocked. It could be any of that. But this was clearly a targeted kidnapping. We just don't know the reason. I think that's an important distinction to make.
Some that came in the form of an email. Is there no way to track where that email address originated? Did it come from a library computer? Did it come from a computer in a guy's mom's basement? We can't track that at all. And also, what would you advise the family to do? Should they pay the ransom to that Bitcoin address, hoping that it produces, brings back their mom?
Well, what's the ransom? That's the question.
Ainsley, I'll take those questions in reverse. First of all, the FBI and law enforcement are only in an advisory capacity here. You cannot tell a family you must do this or you cannot do that. It's an advisory capacity. We give them the best practices on how to deal with this. We've got lots of experience. We all want a good outcome here. I think there's a lot of digital exhaust, a lot of digital evidence out there that they're grinding through. And to your point about the computer, the email, the fact that these captors didn't reach out directly to the family, but did it through TMZ, did it through local news outlets, it's just very strange. And I'll close with this, the fact that they have multiple deadlines. Normally, when captors put out multiple deadlines, there's a negative consequence if law enforcement or the family doesn't meet the first one. The family has been pleading for the captors to reach out to them and directly negotiate with them, and sadly, that has not happened as of yet.
So what about this news from Guthrie's neighbor, Brett McIntyre, told the New York Post that he reported seeing an unmarked van to the police, who asked him basic questions about what he observed and what he saw. He said it was somewhere on the street. It was a white van, full size, with no printing on the side. It was parked on the street before she disappeared. Where would you go with that?
Look, no leads, no evidence. Even somebody thinks, hey, this doesn't really matter. It's that old, if you see something, say something. And Brian, I'll say this as a former mayor, a recovering politician, the law of unintended consequences. One of the things that's hindered this investigation in my view of this is like the Dark Skies Initiative. You want those beautiful, no light pollution out there. You can watch the southwestern skies at night. The problem is the other Ring doorbells, the other digital exhaust that might have been picked up on video, they have not been able to harvest anything of use. Also, the fact that in Arizona, you don't have to have 2 license plates on your vehicles. What if you only got video of the vehicle from the front or the rear, wherever the license plate wasn't? Look, there's a ton of evidence here. And yet, even in the 21st century, with all the modern technology we have, the police are still talking about putting out billboards to crowdsource this.
But James, what did you think of the technology? And I don't want to repeat it because I don't want people to use it for nefarious purposes, but the FBI has the capability of extracting data. That device was seen as they were going into the sister's home. What does that tell you?
Yeah, Lawrence, that's a piece of it, right? We follow the evidence bereft of fear or favor, and any lead that needs to be chased down. But most importantly, in today's day and age, 21st century technology, the fact that we're all tied to our cell phones. In this instance, she had a pacemaker that was attached to that, but this stuff can still be defeated. Case in point, the Ring doorbell that was removed by the people or person that was either inside the house before she got there or somehow followed her in. And Lawrence, you're talking about what's called a CAS team, a cellular analysis survey team. They are the best of the best. And if they can't dig anything out of this, this is just, I said, one of the most beguiling and baffling kidnapping cases I've seen in a long time.
It's so sad. It's sad.
Yeah, and even with them being able to figure out that there were Nest cameras there and access the account, it seems like there should be some type of storage that would allow them to access it. I've seen other camera or security camera systems that even if you don't have a subscription, they will capture the last 24, 48 hours for you for free. And then after that 48 hours, it goes away. Then if you get a subscription, maybe they'll keep it for 2 weeks. Then if you have a certain level of subscription, they'll keep it for a month. But to not have anything captured on camera seems kind of crazy. And with the police being able to understand and quickly identify the fact that she had the Nest cameras there and not pull anything from the company, it seems a little strange. Either way, we're going to keep up to date on this. Make sure y'all let me know what you think in the comments in the chat, and stay tuned for more updates into this tragic abduction of Nancy Guthrie. Thank y'all for the love, man. Shout out to everybody who's in here. Y'all are amazing. Stuck around that long this afternoon. We got over 8,000 of you in here, and the large majority of you like the video. So if y'all could, please make sure you like the video on your way out of the building. We will be back on Monday, but rest assured, if you haven't subscribed, and hit the notification bell yet, you should do that because we're going to be dropping a lot of content over the weekend for you guys as well. You don't want to miss out. We just dropped a video talking about the body cam footage. We got some more videos and information we'll be talking about this weekend. If we get more updates, make sure y'all stay tuned in for that. We may even do a live stream tomorrow, depending on what happens. So again, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time we go live or drop a new video. Thank you for all the love. Big shout out to my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy E for dropping the super sticker in there as well. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great weekend. You enjoy your time with your friends and your family. Y'all stay cool, depending on where you're at. If you're out there in Tucson, stay warm. If you're in the South or in these areas that are experiencing some cold, either way, have a good time. As always, y'all know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace. Appreciate y'all.